A split call from Labor Party, David Cunliffe, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I think one thing we can all agree on is that there's nothing more important than our children's education. From an economic point of view, sir, that is what is going to drive productivity growth, innovation and high incomes for all New Zealanders in the future. And from a social equity point of view, there is nothing more powerful to allow people to make the very best of their talents and achieve whatever they want to achieve than a good, sound education system which is future-focused, which is quality for every single New Zealand child. And we welcome, sir, the opportunity to debate this bill. Sir, we are, however, opposing the bill on what we see in front of us because we think it has the balance wrong between excessive compliance to one-size-fits-all standards, dangerous liberalisation and creeping privatisation of the education system that undermines the core principle that education must be a right and a high quality for every New Zealand child. But before I get on to that, sir, may I quickly dispose of some of what have to be called strawman arguments from members opposite. The first is that members on this side of the House somehow haven't discovered the internet. Well, you know, I was Minister of ICT for 5 years and I think our side really upheld its mandate of driving competition, innovation and investment to get faster, cheaper broadband and internet access for all New Zealanders. And that's been continued by the current government, good on them, and it's going to continue under the Labor-led government which starts next year. We like progress, we like the internet and we stand for approaching the future. Secondly, Labor and other parties on this side of the House just like opposing things for their own sake. Sir, that's nonsense. There's plenty of stuff in this bill that we're perfectly happy with. We like, for example, the idea of a teacher competence authority, provided it's democratic. We like the opportunity to have communities of learning. We like the fact that there is support and better legal codification of the rights and responsibilities of school boards. There's a lot in this bill and much of it is useful. However, sir, there are several fatal flaws, and before I quickly outline them, let me just say that education in New Zealand is in a crisis, and I measure that by the feedback that I get from our local principals in West Auckland. I met with them a couple of weeks ago, the representatives of our Principals Association. In my 18 years in politics, apart from the last time that National tried to introduce bulk funding, I have never heard them so aggrieved and worried about the state of the system. They haven't had enough money in their operations grants, they're getting fleeced in terms of property funding, they're desperately worried about creeping privatisation through charter schools, etc., etc. Special education is being gutted by the government. And in this bill, sir, and I know it's only one part of it, but communities of online learning, so-called COOLs, are not cool, sir, because they take away the obligation for high-quality teaching and face time. And let's not put up any false dichotomies here because, of course, we all want access to the internet to assist student learning. Heck, we went to last election underwriting a digital device for every New Zealand student, and we're going to make sure that they have the very best of digital learning. But that is not the same thing, sir, as gutting and filleting the state school system, which is the pillar, the bedrock of our education, by privatising it and opening it up to people who can do what, frankly, too many cheap, shoddy private trading establishments are doing in the tertiary sector. Having a sham online learning environment with massive dropout rates, false student numbers, and I think we've seen allegedly an institution in the media this week, an Auckland-based PTE called IANS, which has come a gutser, sir, because it's been doing things allegedly like that. Sir, we've got to avoid making the same mistakes again in the compulsory education sector. We want education which is modern, which is world-class, which is available to every single New Zealand child, and which is there for the public good, not the private profit of a few mates of the government. This is potentially the thin end of a wedge. Yes, we'll hear it out at the Select Committee, sir, but we are laying down a warning today that this bill should not proceed.